Something more tangible now, however. How did loo paper help to win the Cold War?
Was there a shortage of loo paper in the eastern part of the world? And
There was a shortage of loo paper behind the Iron Curtain.
The loo paper was made in America, let's say, and then they didn't let the Russians have any, so they were confused.
That would have been clever, but what happened is the Russians instead used documents and all kinds of things for loo paper, because there was nothing else to use. And an operation called Operation Tamarisk meant that the spies behind the Iron Curtain had to go into these bins and find the paper that had been used, because it wasn't soluble like lavatory paper, so it couldn't be used in the sewage system, so it was just thrown out in bins.
Gone right off spying now.
Yeah, you see?
This thing is quite glamorous.
It's not all glamour, I'm afraid, because in military hospitals, the paper refuse that they went through also contained amputated limbs. And the spies were complaining to their handlers back in America and the UK and France and said, you know, it's horrible, we've got to go through these bins and there's these amputated limbs. We've got to go through those as well as used lavatory paper. And of course their spy master said, oh, bring back the limbs as well. We want to see what sort of shrapnel they're using. So they had to carry around severed limbs and excreted matter.
So if they stopped going through customs, could you just open the bag?
It's a bit of a shock.
Yes.
Even for a customs officer who's seen everything.
For personal use.
Yeah. But apparently, according to The Hidden Hand by Richard Aldridge, a book that covers this, it says that Operation Tamarisk was very successful. Maybe without it, we'd still have communist Russia. Why was Sir Billy Butlin such a little devil?
Holiday camps.
Butlin's holiday camps? Yeah. Minehead, Scarborough, Filey...
Skegness.
Yep.
Well, the chalet's little.
So, no, but Billy Butlin himself...
Was he tiny?
He was. And if you think about the age he is, you might be able to work this out.
Second World War?
No.
First World War.
First World War. That's the generation he was. And in the First World War, they had something to make people fight, which was called...
Bromide.
No. It was a law.
Oh, because...
Conscription, yes. But one of the things that could get you out of being conscripted was that if you were...
Tiny.
If you were small.
Did he pretend to be bigger to...
No. He, as it were, fell under a particular desperation that the British Army...
Did they start a short army?
Yes, they literally did. Lord Derby, the Earl of Derby, said, now, hang on, there are a whole load of short people, as it were, getting under the wire. And all these tall people are fighting and dying for us. We want more people to die for us. There simply aren't enough people dying. And all these short people are living. So we're going to have a short brigade. And they were known as the Bantams, the Bantam Brigade. And they were... I know.
Presumably quite good you could play on the opposition's, or, you know, the opposing army's sense of perspective.
Yeah.
Some way, you're like...
Those soldiers are really far away.
We have the edges.
No danger to avoid.
These were men under 5'3", and Billy Butlin was one of them. They became known as the Devils, in fact, the Devil's Dwarfs, because they were so... their reputation for brawling and mischief. They were very, very aggressive. Here they are being inspected by a splendid man in a moustache. And
German shin injuries up 75%. Our legs are being shot away from us. We do not know why.
Surely they should have just put them on each other's shoulders in a long coat.
Oh, yeah.
The most famous of them was called Henry Thridgold, who was only 4'9", and he was believed to be the shortest soldier ever to have served in the British Army. There he is next to quite a tall Scottish soldier. But that's a short chap, but chirpy and cheerful and ready to lay down his life for our country.
I hope you shake hands with him.
Hey, now.
That's given my husband and I a whole new avenue for bedroom role play.
You be Henry, and I'll be a Scots Guard.
Well, there you are. So next time you go on a Butlin's holiday, you can say, well, thank you, Billy, for putting your life at risk, despite the fact that you weren't as tall as most soldiers.
And he survived.
He survived in order to create these holiday camps. Yeah.
With tiny beds.
With... Now, what did seagulls contribute to the war effort?
Seagulls?
Seagulls. You know, you give a television technician Photoshop.
Did they steal food out of the hands of the enemy soldiers and they starved to
Is
death?
it like the parrots in the Eiffel Tower? They kept parrots in the Eiffel Tower in World War II to warn when aircraft were
Yes.
coming, and they'd go, "Oh, aircraft coming." That's true, they did.
Surely they'd say, des avions viennent.
Yes, obviously, I was translating for the benefit of the
fair
audience.
enough.
But,
No, it's not quite that. Again, we have to be in the right war.
Which war?
which war are we
The
in?
First World War we need to be in.
Some sort of
14 to 18.
message service?
No, there was a new threat that had never been seen in warfare before.
Aeroplanes.
That was one in another medium.
Submarines.
Submarines, yes. And
What
the
is a
British.
seagull with a submarine?
Well, let's try and put it all together, shall we? Now, one of the problems with the submarine is you can't see it. There was no sonar, of course, in the First World War. So how do you know where they are?
When they surface.
Well, if they surface, you can see them. But before they surface, another thing that a submarine does is pop up a periscope. So if you could train a seagull to flock towards periscopes by putting food all over the periscopes on your own submarine so that whenever it saw a periscope, it was associated with food and flocked to it, then whenever there was a submarine with its periscope up, the seagulls would flock towards it, and you'd be on your ship and you go, there must be a submarine over there because the seagulls are...
Did they train every seagull in the world to do this? Or did
This
they
is the
keep
problem.
flocks
It
of
didn't
seagulls, so
work.
to speak, on ships?
Surely the flaw in the plan is putting food all over your own periscope so you can't see where you're going.
Well, you only do that in the training area.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
But they thought, while we're there, they thought, let's get it, not just train it to recognise the enemy's periscope, but to poo all over it so that it will blank out the lens.
This is a terrible plan.
It
It'll
is
never
bad.
work.
It is a bad
Sounds
plan.
like something like Blackadder. That'll do it. That'll work.
It was a grand plan. Did not work, I'm afraid. But partly because the gulls couldn't distinguish between
idiots.
Stupid creatures.
Well, they couldn't distinguish between enemy submarines and home submarines. But more importantly, when I said seagull, I was making an ornithological mistake.
Albatross.
No, they're not seagulls. They're just
Terns?
Gulls.
They're just gulls.
Gulls.
They're not seabirds, gulls. They're land birds. They don't go far out to sea at all. They live on the edge of the land, admittedly, in cliffs and things. But they, you know...
Do they have
they're not
webbed
like-
feet?
So they don't go that far out.
So if you're looking for a submarine,
Is this upsetting your worldview?
if you're looking for a submarine
Seagulls.
if you're looking for a submarine in the middle of the Atlantic, the bird's going to say, "I'm not going that far."
Yes,
I'm not. Yeah.
basically, that's the problem. It just doesn't go that far out. So, yes, during the First World War, seagulls were trained to search out German submarines and then crap on their periscopes.